Morning to audience. Okay, today we're going to present about study case 5, which is suicide. Title of forensic identification of Sindoor stain on clothes as trace evidence analysis. This will be presented by me, Siti Zahrah, with my friends Nurul Nabilah, Farah Nadhirah, and Mashitah Humaira. In the introductions, this case involved in India, a victim of 33 years old married woman found dead at home with ligature rope mark on her neck, were initially suspected as suicide by hanging, while the husband reported no clear reason for suicide. There is also a doctor report with cause of death of strangulations. But in this case, there be found a sindoor, which is red cosmetic powder worn by married Hindu women, where often or constantly have dangerous like mercury and sulfate compound. But the police are in this case unsure whether it's suicide or murder, and the evidence turned to the forensic science labs for scientific evidence. There will be a preliminary chemical analysis and instrument analysis. The aim of this analysis is to find a link between victim, suspect, and the crime scenes. That's a way to my friends.
And I'm Mashitah Humaira for the case line of this case. Firstly, the victim, which is 32 years old married, we have a victim irregular, have had a illicit relationship with the accusers, and on the day of the accident, the witness, which is his victim's son, before leaving to the tuition, victim has seen a girl with the accusers, and at the 4 to 6 p.m., victim was strangled using a cotton rope. And around 6 p.m., when the son returned from the tuition, the house was found locked from the outside and informed his father, which is victim's husband, and the father informed the police, triggered investigation. Next. After the police arrived at the crime scene, the police found the victim laying dead on the bed with a ligated mark and cotton rope tied around the neck. And a knife with the cotton thread pieces was found at the window near to the bed. And from the husband's statement, it's claimed that he and his son were not at home and share suspicions about wife's relationship with the accused. And from the cause of the death is from the suicide due to the strangulation, and all injuries were antemortem and inflicted around the same time. And the evidence that found at the case was a victim's scalp, hair, blood sample, vaginal swab, cotton rope, and knife. Next. And likely same the date or within the 24 hours of the during the case, SSI was arrested wearing a standard shirt and observed forensic clues that unidentified stain, missing button on the as a side shirt and a torn buttonhole on the shirt, and shirt was seized by the Delhi police for the forensic analysis. And police sent to the following sample to FSL. The victim's had extract as a sample 1 and the stainless shirt from the accessor as a sample 2. Next.
So next is I'm Nabilah. We present a physical evidence for this case. The first one is Sindoor stain on accused shirt. This was an identified red stain that was later confirmed to be a Sindoor, which is a cosmetic traditionally worn by a married Hindu woman. Secondly is missing shirt button and torn buttonhole hole on the accused shirt, which is indicate a physical struggle, likely with a distance. Next. And the third one is a knife with cotton thread piece, which is found near the bed on the window, possibly used or involved during the altercation. And lastly is cotton rope around the victim neck, indicate strangulation, not consistent with suicide by hanging. Next. So the next part is about forensic analysis of evidence. For the preliminary chemical analysis, there are two samples. Sample number one, extract from the victim scalp hair, and sample number two is extract from the accused shirt stain. The first test is a Rancher's test. The purpose for this test is to detect the heavy metal like mercury. The procedure for this test is firstly the Cooper strip is clean and deep into the test solution, and then mixed with concentrated hydrochloric acid, and then it is gently heated for about an hour. And after removal and drying, if silvery, shiny deposit appear on the Cooper strip, so it indicate the presence of mercury. So for this test result, both sample 1 and sample 2 give positive result, confirm mercury was present in the hair of the victim and the accused shirt. Next, the second test is a test for sulfate ion. The purpose for this test is to check for sulfate ion, which are also common in some form of cinder. The first one is silver nitrate test, where a black precipitate form if sulfate is present. And second is lead acetate test, where a black precipitate also confirm the presence of sulfate. So as a result, both samples test positive for sulfate ion and in both tests. Next. So the third test is a thin layer chromatography. The purpose for this test is to compare the chemical substance in victim hair sample 1 and the accused shirt stain number sample 2. So the purpose for this test is the procedure of this test. The firstly is sample were applied using microcapillary tube into TLC plate coated with merc silica gel, and then the plate was placed in a development tank containing a chloroform methanol 91 solvent system, and then the tank was sealed for 15 minutes to allow vapor saturation. Next, the plate were then developed at 25 Celsius, allowing the solvent to rise 10 centimeter. And after drying, spots were observed under UV light at 254 nanometer and 366 nanometer for comparison. So for as a result for this test, both sample 1 and sample 2 produced matching spot, meaning they had similar chemical composition. So this indicate that the cinder on the accused shirt come from the victim hair, confirming direct contact between them. Next.
Next, I will present for the instrumental analysis that was used in this case. After 3 preliminary chemical analysis, the next level was done by the instrumental analysis, which device was using the atomic absorption spectrometer using the model of F2 222, and the sample was for the analysis using AAS for the detection of the elemental of mercury. The purpose of the AAS is used to determine the concentration of the metal element in a sample, and it is highly sensitive and can detect the metal at part of per million or even part of per billion levels. And AAS measure how much light, usually UV or visible, is absorbed by the free atom in the gaseous stage, and each metal observed light at a specific wavelength, and the amount of the light absorbed is directly related to the concentration of the element in the sample. And for this case, After the calibration of the mercury made with the standard concentration, which is 50 milligram per liter, 30 milligram per liter, and 45 milligram per liter, the result respectively establishing the fact that the both sample, which is the hair and the shirt, had a high concentration of element mercury. Next. The Fourier transform infrared spectrometer with its FTIR also was used in this case, using the model of Perkin-Elmer spectrum GX FTIR spectrometer. For the FTIR, it is the best confirmatory identification of unknown sample by the selective absorption of the infrared radiation that have the availability of the different chemical compound to observe a specific wavelength. And for the principle, IR spectrum identify the sample by its characteristic, absorption and height untotality, and simultaneously correction of the spectra at all characteristic wavelength in a single run to identify all the sample component and wave number value. And if number value represent a chemical component or the functional group present in the compound. And in this case, while using the FTIR, FTIR represent the molecular absorption and transmission. We're creating a molecular fingerprint of the suspect and the victim of the sample analysis, because fingerprint has a unique molecular structure produce the same infrared spectrum. Next.
I'm Farah, and I will continue with the findings of chemicals and instrument analysis. So if in this case, we know that there are two key samples. Samples one was the victim's scalp hair and sample two was the stain from the accused shirt. So firstly, the chemical screening test was conducted. From the range test was used to check for the heavy metal, especially mercury. Both samples tested positive, showing severe deposit on copper strips. So this indicates a high percentage of mercury, which is common in modern cosmetic products like Sindoor. So next is the test for sulfide ions were done using both silver nitrate and lead acetate test. Both samples showed positive result, producing black precipitate that confirmed the presence of sulfide ions. And then further testing using TLC, which is thin layer chromatography, to compare organic composition. The RF value for both sample match, so it indicates similar organic compound in both the scalp hair and the shirt stain. So next. So and then we're doing the AAS to measure the mercury levels accurately. So the victim's hair showed 26.5 milligrams per liter of mercury, and the accused shirt stain had 12.9 milligrams per liter. So both value confirm high mercury concentrations, which strongly suggesting common sources, mostly from Sindoor. And the next. For the Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy, FTIR, and forensic interpretation. So the finding instrument tested is FTIR. So this method helps to identify specific chemical bonds by measuring infrared light. So the FTIR compared both samples across the wave number range of 4,000 to 400 per centimeter. So the result showed nearly identical absorption peak for both samples, especially at 2,920, 2,850, 2,343, 1,650, 668 centimeter per centimeter. So from the result we can see that the sample showed almost identical molecular fingerprint spectra, confirming the same source material, which is from Sindoor. Next. So for the interpretation, we can see how all of this evidence are linkage for each other. So first, this investigation was guided by Lincourt principles of exchange, which state every contact leave a trace. So whatever two objects come into contact, materials is exchanged between them. So the application of these cases, we can see that from the victim's Sindoor, which was transferred to the accused shirt during the physical struggle. And then next, from the evidence from the presence of mercury, and sulfides ion in both samples scientifically proves the physical contact occurred before death. And then secondly, reconstruction of crime scene events. So based on the trace evidence, first from the pre-murder incidents, we can see that the timeline, it shows that the signs of a struggle on this accused clothes, and then during the crime, the victim was strangled. In the struggle, the Sindoor was transferred into the accused shirt, and then for the post-crime, the accused was arrested wearing a stained shirt, and the police seized the shirt for the forensic testing. Next. So for the forensic significance of Sindoor or as trace evidence, so first from composition-based traceability. So the modern Sindoor contains mercury, sulfide ion, and synthetic dyes, makes it highly detectable using chemical and instrumental analysis, as my friend said earlier. And then it had the strength of evidence. First, it's chemically matched. Its elemental mercury level also match from the AAS. Also, molecular fingerprints also match from the FTIR. So the conclusion is the presence of the matching Sindoor composition in both of the victim's hair and the accused shirt established a direct physical link. So this scientifically corroborated the witness statement and autopsy findings supporting homicide by strangulation. Next.
So for the conclusion, it can conclude that Sindoor stain are frequently encounter cosmetic product trace evidence due to the easy availability and routine use by the Hindu woman and also the victim of this case. And it become a useful and reliable tool in forensic field and investigation, especially when combined with the shred of the evidence. And the trans evidence analysis of Sindoor was successfully confirmed by highly sophisticated instrument, which is AAS and FTIR. And although it challenge of trace evidence and the methodology and systematic plan of action also developed to analyze the suspect with the female victim, and the positive correlation was easily established. That's all from us. Thank you.